Hi, how is everybody going? I thought a good discussion to talk about today would be about guilt. I had a really in depth discussion the other week with a lady who was feeling guilty about just about anything she did, mainly because in her circumstance, her upbringing was very religious, and it was a case of um, any time she did anything and it was against the wishes of mainly her father, there was this verse that came back to her of God will punish you. If you do it this way, God will punish you. But then also being taught that God loves you as you are. So it was so conflicting to her to think that there is this God that loves her as she is, but if she does something wrong, then the God will punish her. And it formed a belief system in her that she felt guilty for doing so many things. And a lot of empaths feel guilty when there's no need to feel guilty. So in a circumstance where a really kind and empathetic person, um, let's say they'd cleaned the house and they'd spent 6 hours cleaning and it looked fantastic and they were very proud of themselves, and then someone walked into their home and said and didn't notice, or then said, oh, you forgot to do that, you forgot to vacuum that room, and then they feel guilty. They're like they've spent all that time doing something, and then they feel guilty because they didn't do it good enough. And it usually stems from something in their childhood where they were told you were bad for doing that or you weren't good enough. And it's, you can just be told once that you're not good enough and it can impact you for so long. Or it could be a repeated never feeling like you're good enough, or you weren't wanted, or you were watching other people and thinking they were getting treated better than you were. So even in a classroom environment, when you can see other children who might be more intelligent than you and you feeling that you're not good enough without realizing your authenticity and what you're here for, because every single one of you is special in your own right. So how do you get through that feeling of guilt? And it's not so much like if you don't want to hurt other people. That's not what's going on. It's just, let me shut that down so it stops beeping. You don't want to set out and hurt somebody, but you also want to have your boundaries, and you also want to respect yourself. So all you need to do is speak the truth. Now, if someone else is going to take that in a manner that upsets them, that's not your guilt. You're not in charge of how someone else perceives something, how somebody else takes a message. That's not your role. Your role is just to speak your truth and not feel guilty about it. Because normally, if you think you've hurt somebody else's feelings, you will feel guilty. And you'll try to rectify it and you'll overcompensate for it. And sometimes you can actually get desperate. You can get so desperate that you start clinging to people like, please forgive me. You just totally lose yourself in another person. Another thing that you can do with guilt is feel guilty to yourself for decisions that you made. Let's say you were saving up some money for something and you just went out on a whim and blew the money on something that you really didn't need. It was just just spare of the moment. I'm just not thinking straight, just going to blow that money. And then later when you needed the money and it wasn't there, that feeling of guilt, like, why can't I control myself? Why can't I stick to what I want to do? And then there's that feeling of guilt. So a lot of the time it's working on forgiving yourself and allowing other people to process things for themselves without you having to take on the guilt and holding on to that guilt. And I know I've had a lot of people say to me, is it okay to not feel guilty? Yes, it's okay to feel guilty, but it's also okay to not feel guilty. Like, we're all going through a learning process of who we are and trying to understand ourselves on a deeper level so that we can live a more peaceful life. So I think just working on forgiving yourself by doing meditations on forgiving yourself, on EFT tapping. I always talk about EFT tapping. I think it's brilliant. And even having a little discussion with yourself, or you just keep questioning yourself, like, why am I feeling guilty over this? What's triggering me to feel guilty? Because maybe I've hurt someone's feelings. And then you ask yourself again, but why am I so upset to hurt someone else's feelings? And then answer yourself again, maybe it's because I want to be liked. I want to be accepted. I want to feel a part of something. I don't want to feel rejected. So you keep asking yourself, why am I feeling this, or why am I doing this? And when you get your answer, ask yourself again, and why is that? And it's like peeling the layers off the onion until you get down into the core of what's really going on. And when you've discovered what's really going on, just understanding it, it's okay. It's okay that that's what I want for myself. It's all okay. So, and I think we get so serious sometimes and so caught up in overthinking when you forget you just have fun and enjoy life. So, yeah, you might have feelings of guilt for something you've done yourself, a decision you've made that thinking it was wrong, but look what it taught you. Seeing the value in what it taught you and being able to change it is so much more powerful than hanging on to that feeling of guilt. And if you feel like you've hurt somebody else's feelings, that's something they're processing. If they are emotionally mature, they will understand where you're coming from and have total acceptance for the situation. So, just thought I'd have a little talk today about guilt, and it's totally fine to not feel guilty about things. And I hope you have a lovely week. Thanks.